To get,
one that said,
it's the DISD Wi-Fi. That one. Yeah, mine connected right up once I clicked on the right one.
yeah.
Good news, you got 30 more minutes before you actually really need it.
Well, as long as I sit here and fight with it, I'm better off getting it going now.
I thought the same thing. Okay. Ready? All right, we're calling this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. We do have a properly posted agenda and an established quorum. At this time, we are going to be moving to closed session for under 2C pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 personnel to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including superintendent or board member, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer and employee. We will be reconvene at 6 p.m. Thank you. I got that on, there we go, 6:02 PM. We are back in open session. Under number 4, we are going to do the invocation first. Chief Campbell, would you like to do the invocation tonight? Thank you. Everybody rise, please.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together. Lord, we just ask that you'd guide and direct us tonight in our decision making. And as always, be with our staff, be with our educators, be with our students. Just allow us to go through our days, glorifying you in all that we do. For it's in your gracious name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. And as our special guests tonight, to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Genesis and Luna Garcia. Genesis is a 5th grader. They're from Rand Elementary, and Luna is a 1st grader. The parents are Cecilia Mata and George Garcia. So y'all can come on up if you want, and if you want to stand right here, and then you guys. We're ready for, all right, item 6 is recognition. This is School Board Appreciation Month, whether y'all appreciate us or not. You're going to have to appreciate us. You don't get a choice tonight. So that's something we put in there for ourselves. We need a pat on the back every once in a while. And then here is Mrs. Bird to talk about our next appreciation. We don't want to talk about it. All right, go ahead.
It's just, I promise I'll be very brief, just to change a turn of events, so to speak. We want to thank you all. We see your heart. We see your love of service and the effort that you put in. We're grateful for the time that you give us, the energy, the effort, all of the things you do that are very public and seen, as well as the things that are unseen. And each one of you has a rather substantial packet of thank you cards, notes, beautiful artistic renderings from many of our kiddos across the district, as well as just a small certificate of appreciation. So we won't ask you guys to give yourselves a hand, but if we can get the audience to give y'all a hand.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Hey, we'll take whatever we can get. So, all right. Next appreciation is for 6B, our Decatur Economic Development. Manufacturing Day. We have 2 very distinguished people, part of our EDC and fellow Rotarians. I'll go ahead and mention that, whether you want to be associated with me or not.
Thank you, Stan. I was about to say we appreciate your service as well, but at this point, after that comment, I don't know that I want to say that. But appreciate everybody else's service on the board, and typically I'll open up a conversation or discussion presentation by saying, good evening, Mayor and Council, but tonight it's exciting to say, good evening, Dr. Rue and School Board. I'm Kevin Holzbach, the Executive Director of Decatur Economic Development Corporation. With me tonight's Matt Reynolds, who's the Business Development Director for the EDC. Many of y'all are familiar with the EDC. Many in the community are familiar with the EDC. But just as a level set before we jump into Manufacturing Day, and because Dr. Rue has generously given us an hour to present tonight, we want to.
Out of appreciation.
Yes, yeah. We want to take opportunity just to familiarize the board with the EDC very briefly, and then let Matt walk y'all through Manufacturing Day, since it was his project and he deserves all the credit for that. So the EDC was formed in 1993 by the Decatur voters. We're formed and funded in 93 through a half-cent sales tax. It's a dedicated half-cent sales tax for economic development. The purpose of the EDC is to help create new quality jobs in the community for local residents, area residents, and I'm proud of the track record of that. Some of our more notable projects that might be familiar to folks that are here tonight or listening might be the Eagles Landing Business Park off 2264. EDC purchased that property in 2018, developed it in 2019, and we have just a little over 800% return on investment in that project. That's 160 acres. We acquired an additional 375 this past year. I'll also add, because this is appropriate for this board, within that park, which was every business in there, every job in there has been created over the last just handful of years. They pay those companies that are vertical in there today. In 2024, estimated Decatur ISD property tax revenues just under $500,000. I would have no doubt that y'all have students whose parents are employed there, and part of what we do is continue trying to recruit those companies. The number one question from companies is workforce. They want to know what kind of programs we have in place, not just to upskill the existing workforce or to help them recruit new workforce, but also what's that workforce pipeline look like. Workforce pipeline programs are typically involved with your CTE programs, your community colleges, those types of institutions. And so I'm proud to say Decatur ISD is a great partner with us. We work with them closely on projects and on strategy, and Dr. Rue's been a great partner. At this point, I'll pass it over to Matt Reynolds to talk about the exciting stuff.
Thank you, and I do want to say that we appreciate the opportunity to publicly thank the EDC and to recognize the partnership you've had with Decatur, with its CTE program, and I see Mr. Nauman and several people there, and Mr. Lackey back there. We know the effort, and we know the impact it can have on students. So I'll stop there and let you share a bit about it.
Okay. Well, good evening again. My name is Matt Reynolds, and as Kevin mentioned, I'm with the EDC. So I get the privilege of introducing you to Manufacturing Day 2024. Our event was scheduled for October 18th this past year. So why are we doing this? Kevin mentioned some of it, but the micro-credential generation is upon us. We're seeing more and more students taking the pathway to careers using credentialing as opposed to traditional degrees. Research shows that fresh out of high school, the age group between 18 and 20 are preferring to do a credential as opposed to anything else. The National Student Clearinghouse Research Center saw an 11% increase from 2022 to 23, which is significant, and it's new. So something to pay attention to going forward. As well as, you guys might have read, Northwest ISD is introducing 2 new academies. One of those is Construction Academy. The second one is Transportation Automation Logistics Academy. Those are very important because it's almost the epicenter of our growth area. You know, they're looking forward to what they can do with their students, helping their students to get a foot into these different industries. So something else there. The third one is, you might not know about this, but Bell Textron is investing $630 million in the Alliance area. They're going to put in a facility that's just under 500,000 square feet. It will be for the United States Army. The V-280 is a rotary aircraft that is very important for the mission of the United States Army. So Expected salary range there is $85,000 per year. That's significant. So we want to do everything we can to help students get prepared and to launch into careers like that. So a little bit about Manufacturing Day. You can look up Manufacturing Day. It is a nationally recognized movement. What we're trying to do basically is to put those students into the organization, that manufacturing group, so they can see firsthand and get firsthand exposure. This initiative is a part of who we are as we exist with the Decatur EDC. It is our mission to promote businesses so that they are successful in recruiting as well as retention and expansion. So this is the whole purpose behind the EDC. Some background information. This is based upon zip code 76234, which we should all be familiar with. Manufacturing is highlighted there because it is almost 30% growth in the last 5 years. That's significant. And you can see there that the average earnings for those salary workers is $85,000 a year. That's very, very good. Also, you know that our growing industries locally, this is from Lightcast in 2024, top 2 industries, construction and manufacturing. Both of those add up to equal to or more than 50% of the growth compared to all business sectors. So that is significant as well. And another reason to underscore why we do Manufacturing Day. So the scope of this event, with the help of Mr. Nauman back here, was a one-day event. We focused on CTE students, trying to get them involved with industries and into professions. We stayed within Decatur city limits, so we did not venture outside of the Decatur city limits. Our target audience was those students that were involved within CTE programs. We looked for sophomores and juniors. They're a little bit more malleable, if you will, to understanding what they might do outside of high school. We started with 30 students only. We didn't want to get too big. We were also able to recruit some AV team as well as journalism students, and the barbecue team cooked us lunch. How convenient. Our business partners included 7 businesses within our area. 6 of those businesses were manufacturing, 1 was distribution. I want to tell you that a few short years ago, 5 years ago, 5 of these 7 did not exist in Decatur. So we're growing as a community. We're recruiting manufacturing businesses as an EDC, and we want that to continue to grow. And these businesses helped us with Manufacturing Day. They were all very, very good, easy to work with. So quotes from the students. You might have read this in the messenger. Manufacturing Day was definitely life-changing. Home run in my book. That's fantastic. That's what we want to hear students say. Another one said, I thought it was actually really good. I liked getting out there and being able to be hands-on. So another home run there. So we really wanted to get students to push into these businesses, and that collage between the private sector and our ISD is very, very important for these students. Just some photos so you can kind of see what we did or where we went. This is the entrance to Eagles Landing Business Park. Here they were getting a lesson from in chemical processing from the president of Onyx and also Integris. Here was distribution facility, and then Aero Brigham helicopter manufacturing facility. Again, back at Integris in the manufacturing, in the machine shop, Integris machine shop. And then on the inside, the infrastructure, you can see that wall there. Students got to sign their name to a piece of sheetrock that will hang there forever in Onyx. So we're happy about that. And then Omega Research, they got to participate in going through Omega Research. You might recognize some faces here, some famous folk related to our Decatur barbecue team, so thank you again. Big shout out to them. They did a fantastic job. And of course, I couldn't leave here today without saying thank you very much to Decatur ISD for being great partners with the Economic Development Corporation. We need to continue this partnership, and I want to tell you that Dr. Rue, Dr. Wooten, as well as Mr. Lackey, Mr. Nauman, they all said yes. When we went to them and proposed what we're going to do, they all said, yes, let's do this. Yes, let's do this. And that, to me, is why this was successful, is because we have some leadership that wants to see these kids go and grow and to be better and better and better. So a few minutes of your time. Thank you very much. But I want to leave it open for any questions that you might have, because I really want to get to go see how Nate has prepared his chili for tonight. So, what questions do you have for us?
Matt and Kevin, obviously you guys, I get to work with you very closely on a day-to-day basis and see all the things that you're actually doing, not only with the city, but also with the district in and of itself. And so I just want to say I appreciate all the hard work that you guys do every single day. But second with that, is there any plans next year to maybe expand this? I know you talked specifically about just within the city of Decatur, and I think that's great, but there's a whole plethora of other avenues outside of the city, and kind of, have you thought about that, what that entails as it goes forward with
Yes,
other cities or districts as well?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking that. That was a very good point. We are expanding it. We've reached out to other areas right now. We've heard back from Slidell and from Paradise ISDs. They both want to participate with us. We want to open it up to all Wise County. There's no reason why students in other areas that would never, ever, ever get to experience any of this, why they couldn't come here and participate with that as well. And it's better for our industries as well. You know, our businesses, they need to see those students too. So we want to open that up to manufacturing in that avenue, but we could also open it up to First Responder Day, you know, where we have students that want to be first responders. They can go to PD, they can go to FD, they can go to other areas. To nursing staff, we can do a healthcare day. We can do, so this could really, it could really blossom, if you will, into many different avenues for students. It doesn't have to just be manufacturing. This is manufacturing day, but it doesn't have to always be manufacturing day. It can be other industries too. But good questions. That answer? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Not a question, I just wanted to kind of echo his comments about what the great job y'all do. I spoke with one of your companies that you recruited. You already know this, but I probably don't need to announce it publicly, but they're so happy with what you guys are doing in Decatur. They are going to be moving all of their operations to Decatur, which is their corporate offices here, which is amazing that they're going to move. So anyway, but appreciate the job you guys do, but that's a reflection on how much, you know, all the work you guys have done.
And great partnership with the school district.
Yeah.
And Ms. Bird, did we have a certificate? Oh, let me, sorry.
Could just add,
Michelle has it.
we
Okay.
did inquire whether there'd be interest in banking as an industry sector. Not a lot of interest, but a lot of talent.
More than chili.
On behalf of Decatur ISD, we are just presenting you with the certificate of recognition that you can put in your office.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Good deal. Bravo. And thank you for coming and voting us. Appreciate it. I'm going to get a photograph of them. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Do you want us in the picture? If you don't, that's fine.
Yes, let's do it. No, let's do it. Come on.
Yeah, in fact, Monique, you gotta just tell, you gotta work just.
It's recognition time.
Tell us what you had to arrange this.
Okay.
Okay, we are at number 7, public forum. No one signed up, so we do not have any speakers tonight, so we can move right into item number 8, our superintendent report.
Yes, thank you. Just a few things to share about district activities and student events. We've got several accomplishments with our choir, and the congratulations go to 6 students who made All-State Choir. We're really proud of them, and we'll get that information out on our webpage. Our boys soccer team tied with Keller Timber Creek. We had to reschedule. A little snowfall caused for a few upends to calendar events. Girls soccer has done a great job. If you're looking at the news, you will see the soccer, basketball, boys, girls, both all across the board. They're doing great and having a fantastic year. Our UIL Cheer Spirit Championship, our girls have made it to the state championship, and they are in Fort Worth Convention Center, and that will be taking place this Friday at 3:50. So if you want to see some really talented young women athletes, then there's that. And I also want to point out that we have initiated the superintendent search. There will be a community focus group meeting, an opportunity for our community January 21st at 5 p.m. in this boardroom. We also have a survey for the community and for staff to participate in, and that will be available. I think it went live later today. Yes, so that's it. There's our activities.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rue. Item number 9 is the consent agenda. Under that, we have personnel and the minutes of our December 11th special workshop and our December 16th special board meeting, as well as the December 16th regular board meeting. Do we have anything that needs to be discussed or any questions about those? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve that.
Approve the consent agenda as presented to the board.
Got a motion from Nate. Do I have a second? A second from Sandy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 10 is discussion items. 10A is an update from Brett Sumrow on our long-range facility planning. Appreciate you being here and the information that you are going to share with us.
Set me up there. Yes, sir. Am I on?
Yes, sir.
You're on.
I'm on. All right. I'm on. I'm always on. Careful.
There we go, sir. And if you want to go forward.
Gotcha. Okay. I've just got a quick update really for y'all for kind of what we've been doing since I was here last, just to kind of fill you in. I hope none of you are looking to get down into the.
Make sure it's on the red button down,
Oh,
please.
says it's on. Oh, maybe I was too far away. Okay, now I can hear myself. Yeah, I'm just here to give an update of kind of what we've been working on since I was here last, and not going to get down into the weeds, but it's more kind of general, kind of where we're at, and we can talk about moving forward and where we might plug in. Just as a reminder, these were the 0 to 5 year priorities that the Long Range Facility Planning Committee came up with. It was addressing McCarroll Middle School, addressing the security issues specifically at Decatur High School entry vestibule or lack thereof, traffic patterns around elementary campuses, looking at high school edition CTE and what those programs could offer, also fine arts and enlarge the kitchen cafeteria, and then look at campus life cycle systems replacements. So what we've been doing since then is really a lot of data collection and feasibility studies around this to prepare for another committee forming later in the spring. Life cycle replacement schedule. So I'm going to kind of talk about how we're hitting each of those. Life cycle replacement schedule. Kyle and his team put together a very detailed list of equipment, systems, et cetera, in the district. Finishes. It was over 1,400 individual line items. So every piece of equipment is categorized in there, the age of it, the expected life, when's the last time it was replaced, and when it would be expected to be replaced. So what our team is doing is going through that, grouping those together, putting together a schedule moving forward that won't just look at the next 5 years, but for the life cycle of all that equipment that will help in future planning as well, and putting costs to that and projected escalation over time of when that equipment might need to be replaced.
Hey, Brett,
Yes.
is that a living document? Do we know? Kyle?
It will be, yes.
It will be, okay.
Yeah, right now it's an Excel spreadsheet. We're adding that extra layer to it. But yes, the intent is to be a living document so that as you replace equipment, you update the date and then it gives you a new replacement date.
Right.
And all of that is based on the life cycle that we presented to the Long Range Planning Committee that y'all saw as well for each piece of equipment. Looking at the CTE at the high school, Dr. Wooten and her team has put together, this is just an excerpt of it, this is not the exhaustive list, but a pretty detailed list of programs. And they range from both new programs that you could add as well as programs that maybe are not in the ideal space and what kind of spaces that you might need for that. What our team is doing or has done with that is taken that and converted it into a spatial program to try to figure out what spaces are needed for these programs. And the idea is for twofold. Number one, that helps with the planning, we can help with costing, and also to share with a committee once one is formed. And then we've been working on feasibility studies. You see the high school on the left, and then a couple of options on McCarroll Middle School. I think we have 4 actually for that one. So we're vetting through different options that we can have to solve those problems that were identified. Along with this, we're putting costs to it. We're working with we're getting input from a couple of construction managers. We don't have that feedback yet, but we're soliciting it. The next step with this is actually to set up a meeting with the school district and kind of go through these, make sure that some of our assumptions are correct back and forth on them. The idea is to have all this data ready so that when you look at forming a committee a little bit later in the spring, that we have it to share with them and the different pros and cons of each selection of where we might head. So, kind of moving forward, what does that look like? We presented the long-range plan to the board in September. We've been doing this data collection through October to December. Our next step, let me back up. Does it like to back up? Yeah. Couple other pieces that we are collecting is updated demographer's report and then updated financial analysis for the district as well, and what a potential tax impact might be at different scenarios, bonding capacity and those type things. Once again, all the data and information just to be able to share with the district and the community group as we move forward. So where we're at now is we're starting to review that data with the school district. And then once we go through that, if y'all would like to have a workshop and go through the details of that with you, that's up to you. We can schedule that probably early March, I would say. We would be ready for that. All ahead of potentially y'all forming a bond committee. Now, I will say initially we were thinking that might happen in March. I think now we're thinking April because you're in the middle of a superintendent search. And ideally, that superintendent comes on board and is here for the beginning of this. You can get them up to speed, since they're going to be kind of the face of this also as we move forward, even though it will be a community-led group. And then, so we're thinking bond planning meetings starting in April, running through June, 4 to 5 meetings. We have agendas already scheduled. We're populating those agendas now to be able to do that, and starting with that long-range plan, and kind of those needs are already identified, but this time it's focusing on specific solutions and what kind of impact that might be to the district, to the capacities of your facilities, checking off the criteria of that long-range plan, and then any kind of cost and potential tax impact. The idea is to finish those in June and have a recommendation to the school board either ideally in June. The thought was before you break for the summer. And that's assuming that the committee gets to wanting to make a recommendation for a bond for November. There is no guarantee that they would want to do that. You don't have to do that, but that's what we're working towards. If for some reason you're not getting to that solution, you can always slow down. It's harder to speed up. But assuming a recommendation to the school board in June, and assuming the board elects to call for a bond election, the deadline is August 18th. that lines up to y'all's schedule that I believe you're going to have a board meeting on August 18th, if your pattern follows, if you decide to call that. But that gives time in between there to put that plan out to the community, get feedback for the community ahead of actual calling an election in case, you know, there might be any kind of adjustments that might need to be made. Then you get into campaign from August to November. That's your informational campaign, factual campaign. And then election day is November 4th, 2025, if you decide to have a bond election. And that's my update. So our next step is kind of going through that data and the feasibility with the district, and then from there, if y'all want to have a workshop to do the same with y'all, we can do that. Questions, concerns? I'll say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it.
We do. And he's been a great partner with us and able to support the work as the district's been doing its homework and getting background information ready for them.
You won't hurt our feelings if you want to get out. You're welcome to stay.
Somebody has a 6:05 flight out in the morning, so yes.
That's why I knew that, so I was like, you won't hurt our feelings. So, but thank you. Appreciate all the work you're doing. 10B, discuss purchasing options for additional buses.
Yes. Thank you. And Mr. Mazak is coming forward as he's preparing. I'll just give some brief background. We have been looking at two things: optimizing the bus routes themselves and minimizing the amount of time students are on buses in any one direction to and from school. So they've been working with that. The possibility of purchasing 3 additional buses will make that doable. It will give us a time frame of roughly an hour or less for any student on the bus, and accomplishes both of those goals. So we wanted to let Mr. Mazak talk about his research and his background in this area. He has led that charge for us.
Thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to actually present this. We did a bus over. We've been putting a lot of work in the department. More timely for the students, and it came to the fact that we felt that we just didn't have enough buses. So I wanted to give an overview of our current fleet right now, buses and a few sped vehicles that we have. There's 37 buses. Most of them are Cummins diesel engine. The cost for our bus fleet is about $6.1 million today. The current fleet, you can see there, 2006 was the purchase date. We have 4 of those, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, one each. The majority purchased in 2016. This shows that the buses are in fair condition, not good, not great. 3 additional buses is around $150K each, and for a 78 passenger bus, it kind of has the arm. Back orders is about a 4-month lead time. There's no down required, and we can purchase those through a co-op like by order tip. We will be able to designate routes out of schools. Right now, we have any bus. So for example, Carson, we can get down to one stop, and Carson would have routes. All routes would be under an hour where the children are actually on the bus. Routes for Brandon and Ennis, we put them together. All routes but one would be under an hour. Routes for Young. Young would have its own buses there and back, pick up and drop off with their own designated routes, with all under 1 hour. And those, we would be able to do that. Without that, we would still be doing the best we can to play catch up with what we have.
we can do a reimbursement resolution, which means the general fund's going to pay for the buses out of fund balance. And then when we pass a bond, we can reimburse ourselves. There are timeframes that you have to meet within. So it looks 60 days back from the day that you do the resolution and 18 months forward. So actually, you have around 20 months. And so you would want to time the purchase of the bus to where it would be sometime in July, do the reimbursement resolution at the end of August, 1st of September, depending upon when we actually cut the check for the buses in July. And then, if and when the bond passes, then the general fund would get the money back. And so it would be a wash to the district. But you would have to do that resolution. We put a sample resolution from the bond council in so you would know what that's going to look like that we would ask you to adopt if we went that away.
Let me interject that is a purchasing option that in my past life I have utilized several times in order to meet identified needs and then be reimbursed as part of your bond package. Certainly we need additional buses, replacement buses throughout the fleet. This would be a head start on that, and we can, through the resolution, be reimbursed through the bond program instead of having to wait for the bond program.
And then your other option is to finance them the same way that it would be similar to the way we financed Carson's HVAC renovation. We would do either a capital lease or tax notes, maintenance tax notes. Normally, we would finance them between 5 and 10 years. There's an amortization schedule in there that I did using 4.25%. I asked Jeff Robert what percent he thought it would be. That's the percentage he gave me. You would basically make payments like you do on a bond. And then that would just come out of the regular M&O of the district every single year, whatever the payment is. Now, if when we go to call a bond, if we wanted to do this would have to be a separate proposition, meaning it would be, we have Prop A, Prop B, this would be a separate proposition, and it would be to pay off the balance of the maintenance tax notes if you wanted to get reimbursed for the cost of the remaining balance for the loan. But it would have to be a separate proposition. It could not be combined in with, say we're going to purchase 26 buses. We've already purchased 3. We're only going to do 23 for the bond. The other 3 would not be included in that, as if you did the other.
If we do the reimbursement resolution, do we have to set that as a separate prop?
No. It would be in with, normally it would be in with the same proposition where you're going to build a building with the repairs and maintenance of the building to build the middle school. It would be lumped in with all of that proposition.
And it would also not have the interest?
No.
Right.
No.
Yeah, there's.
You would just be using your fund balance now.
And then how long would you have, I have to assume there's a certain amount of years that.
18 months.
We can
That's the
convince.
18-month period. So if you do the resolution September 1st, I think I calculated the months up. You could say you called for a bond in November of 25 and it didn't pass. You could call again in May. If it didn't pass, I think your 20 months could get to where you could get to November of 26. It's very tricky. Possibly 3. Everything is dependent upon when we purchase the bus and when we pay the buses, and they get funded.
So Cindy, if you do the resolution to put it in a bond and say that you get through 3 and it doesn't pass, do you have the option to go finance it at that point?
No.
You wouldn't?
I don't.
You would have already purchased
I've
them
never had
outright.
that. I've never.
Yeah.
Because they would.
You want to make us that long?
They wouldn't be a
I'm
new.
just thinking about cash flow.
Yeah. I've never done that at a school district, so I would have to ask Jeff Robert that. Can we basically, we have an asset that we own, can we put it up for collateral and get some short-term financing? I would have to ask that question. I don't,
Because, I mean, my concern would be that we put out this money and then it doesn't pass.
right,
So then, you know, our general fund is down by $450,000.
right.
So is there a plan B where if that doesn't go through to where we can reimburse ourselves? Because, you know, money's tight right now.
The only other option would be if, and I would have to ask Jeff, but I can ask Jeff that tomorrow and let you know, put it in the board brief if it's doable.
Knowing that it takes 3 to 4 months, I mean, even so there's no back order, but it's 3 to 4 months lead time, you would obviously want these buses in time for the start of the school year,
Right.
which is, we're looking at early August. So I'm just trying to do the timing on this. So, well, even, need to be ordered even before then, right?
We'd like
Right.
to take possession in July.
Oh, take possession in July,
possession
right.
in
So, but then you back that up, so it need to be ordered by March.
So depending
Yeah.
upon what the discussion is here, we were going to do either a budget amendment in a action item in either February or March. Probably March, because February's board meeting. is-
So
Yeah.
realistically, we really need to make a decision probably at the next board meeting, at the
Right.
February board
Probably so.
meeting.
Yeah, the
Probably have
timeline-
it as
The
discussion.
timeline I was looking at would be a conversation today. These are some funding options for additional buses. Then looking at making a decision about a purchase method if you choose to do that with budget amendment in March. The order is made in April. You don't pay for them at receipt in July. And then a reimbursement resolution if you do that in August or September, and that gets you your 20 months for
Okay.
future
Just wanna-
bonds.
We would not do it until in July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you would not
Can
pay
I,
for them.
can I ask a
until
question too? The bigger picture, what is the current replacement plan of the existing buses? Besides adding on 3 additional buses, what is the existing, if we have 37 buses, what's that replacement cycle that's currently planned?
The life cycles replacement cost shows they need to be done in 2026. It should be on the next bond that we ask for.
So we were just gonna do a lump sum replacement of 37, we're not gonna do a few each year, just rotate them out?
Yeah, that would have to be done through probably O&M, but we need the 6.1 million to replace our bus fleet.
So here's the thing to consider, and I appreciate your thinking ahead, because absolutely it has to be that way. The purchasing all of the buses all at once again leaves you in the same situation you're in again. You don't want to do that, in my opinion. So looking at a replacement cycle that allows a future bond committee to prioritize. Here's all of what we need. We believe we can put this prioritized chunk in the bond program and get that much done, and then the others can go in the future. So you want to cycle that through so that as you can replace buses without having a whole new fleet that goes out at the same time again.
It seems to me we need to be doing more than 3. We need at least double that. We need 6 to
sure,
8.
sure.
6 to 8 now,
Right.
so that you can start this replacement cycle. If you're gonna need 40 in 10 years, you need at least 4 a year if you're gonna have a replacement cycle,
Yeah.
plus growth.
It should be a third of the fleet, I think, or a quarter, at least if you're doing a replacement cycle. But to replace them all with the bond, which is mostly what they did last time in 2016.
I think it's to assume that a bond's gonna pass. We all want it. Everybody that's invested in the school district wants it, but not everybody in the community necessarily is gonna want it. So I think we need to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
So if you did a bond for, say, 20 million for buses, I mean, you don't have to spend all that 20 million that first year, do you? So you could do buy 5 buses and then next year buy 5 buses and not have to recall a new bond.
Absolutely.
Right.
With the last bond, that's what we had planned to do, is just stagger it as much as we
Right.
could. You know, take the ones that are desperate in dire straits, replace them, then stagger, because you wouldn't sell the bonds when we very first get them for buses that we were gonna buy 5 years or 10 years down the road. You just wouldn't sell those bonds.
No, absolutely, and that's how you toggle the debt in your bond capacity, by spreading it out like that.
So, quick question, Cindy and Kyle, as we're looking and we need more buses, obviously, The 50 to 60,000, I would assume that would be a yearly for 3 buses.
It's total
For
interest.
the lease or the purchase?
Correct, for a lease. That would be a $50,000-$60,000 for the 3 a year.
For 5 years would be 50,000. If you did it out 7 years, it would be 37. That
And-
would be the hit to the M&O budget.
And so I'm thinking that if we needed more buses, I mean, this is just me thinking, would it be a safer bet that if we said, okay, hey, look, let's look at maybe what it would cost to lease 8 buses? Because if we tried to lease 8 buses at, let's say, $50,000-$60,000, that's gonna be about $400,000. If we bought 3 buses outright, that would be $350,000, or $450,000. So if we're thinking that, hey, look, we could get a bond passed later, add that as a
It's a
third
good idea.
proposition, and then pay ourselves back, we're still achieving the same, actually, we're achieving more by doing it that way.
And we'd want to look at a lease to own, I think, to get your money's value out of that system. And we have had some figures with that. That is over time, a more expensive proposition than either the straight-up loan, a finance option, or the least, the least additional cost is a reimbursement resolution.
I'm adding to your situation or problem. Do we need more buses that have wheelchair accessible? Are we needing more of those?
No, I don't think we need any more that have wheelchair accessible. The spare buses, the few that we have been turned into sped buses. All the new buses, though, would have seat belts on them, by law. Yeah. Which the bus drivers are really thankful for.
Right.
So what is a used bus value? If we went through and we started replacing some of these and we auctioned them off, what are we looking at getting back?
I don't know the exact number, but if we put these as surplus and then we put them on an auction site, I've seen white fleet go for around $2,000 a vehicle, so I would assume it'd be more than that, but it's not going to be a lot.
So with these buses, the prices you presented, there's no upfitting that we have to do to them. They're coming to us ready to hit the ground, ready to go out and pick up kids, or are we gonna have to do some upfitting to them, i.e. radios, what have you?
We would take the radios out of because we just are replacing all new radios on our bus fleet. We would take them out in-house and have them installed in the new buses.
So I'm just trying to, so the 5 to 10 years, that 50 to 60,000, is that based upon a 5-year replacement or a 10-year?
5 to 7. I didn't even do 10.
So if we were to say, hey, and this would be your area, Kyle, what would be the optimal number of years that we would be getting out of a bus before we start having further maintenance problems to where now that becomes an unprofitable bus to have? Have we looked at what those years would be?
10 years is the average, 150,000 plus miles.
So the theory realistically is if we pushed out to a 10-year replacement plan for each bus and we looked at a lease top option for 10 years, it could actually be cheaper than the 50 to 60,000 for 3, or, it could be cheaper than 400,000 for 8 or so.
Only thing that would concern me about that is eventually, if a bond doesn't pass and we don't have that money, then you're gonna have to look again next year
At
or the
fund
next
balance.
year doing another maintenance tax note to get more buses if a bond's never passed. And so you're kinda just gonna get your debt service where it's just gonna
Right.
perpetually overlap and get.
And I will say that in
primarily
this,
M&O can handle it.
in this economy, in the funding situations for school districts, anything that can be purchased through bond programs is the way to get it done without touching your M&O, and all these others are gonna come out of your M&O, not out of bond program.
I think that's kind of why we looked at the 5 to 7 year, is so we could interchange debt quicker.
Right.
In just kind of maintain a debt service that's a certain level, instead of just compounding it by extending it out even further.
I would still be interested to see what a 5 to 7
Yeah.
with like 8 buses that we need for now for a lease, what that would look like compared to, you know,
No, I can run
saying,
that.
hey,
I
we're
can-
gonna get stuck with a $450,000 bill and we're banking on a bond passing.
Right.
As compared to looking at something that perhaps we could afford on a yearly basis if for some reason that bond does not pass.
I can run a 10-year one, because your 7-year is in here, and it's gonna be, well, you would just double, I would double that, so it'd be 70,000 for 6,
Yeah.
because this is for 30.
Right.
But I can get you 10-year. I can run that
you know,
really easy.
the interest on the 7-year would be right at $74,000. So,
This gets into the micromanaging stuff that we aren't supposed to do, but we need to see some long-range planning with this, on this scheduling, with leadership changeover over time. We need to see, I mean, we're talking 10-year programming here. We need to see something in place so the next person comes in and sees that there's something that exists that we're doing and we're following. We need to see something kind of in stone, because we're gonna grow, people are coming, we're gonna be running buses. So we don't have any choice. It's something that needs to be done. But we can't sit back and just hope for a bond every 5 to 10 years. I mean, that's just not realistic.
well, and of course, that's the beauty of a future bond committee, is looking at the priorities of the district, prioritizing the slice, and saying, this is what we believe is appropriate at this given time for the community.
No, I agree with that, but we also need to have something now in case the bond doesn't pass. Because a few years ago, we didn't pass a bond, and
Right.
that would have placed the buses.
Yeah,
So-
and we've got buses.
So we need to have a plan in place to operate. We pay for stuff all the time in overhead. This needs to be added to that recycling budget where we replace this on a cycle.
We know we're using buses from 2011, 2012, and, you know, a 10-year life cycle. They've given us what they've got.
They are costing us a lot in O&M and breakdowns, and we just had a rod go out in one of them, and parts are harder to get, of course.
Well, I'm assuming they're not up to current standards, are they? But safety standards. I mean, the new ones off the showroom floor are going to be have more safety features than the old
The
ones.
new ones would have the seat belts and it would have the arm guard to keep children from walking into traffic. Yeah.
Can we ask for more than? Can we ask the district to look into 6 to 8?
Well, we can look at all of it. It's a matter of what it means to our maintenance and operations budget moving into, unless something happens in this legislative session, Decatur, we're looking at another year of deficit budget. So all of this has to be weighed and balanced.
I just think it needs to bump up on the priority list. It needs to be moved to the top.
But I think, Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, some of this is what you had kind of done for Brett as well, has created that exhaustive list of a replacement plan and life cycle of those things. So you're kind of headed in that direction with creating something for that. That's what I took.
And just a correction, there were 1,800 items we tagged.
Not 14, 18.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cindy, how many buses are we still paying for? Do we know?
No.
They're all of our buses are paid off? We're not paying anything on any previous anything? Okay.
No. The only debt you have in the general fund is for the Carson HVAC renovation. And when you do pass a bond for vehicles, they have to be paid off. More of the principal is where they're paid off sooner.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, appreciate it. That's a lot of information. We'll obviously need to be bringing it to a decision. So, Kyle, I think you got to stay up here, I believe. We're moving to 11 action items, discuss and take possible action regarding the interlocal agreement.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think you're back on.
All right, we're asking that you approve the interlocal agreement. A few months ago, we did an assessment of our crosswalks here at Decatur, and we noticed that they weren't quite up to our standard. Some were missing ADA compliance, and so we got together with the city, and I wish they were here, but they have a meeting tonight also, just to give them kudos, and they have been so helpful. We have a council
Oh, we
member.
do have a council member.
Thank you so much.
There he is.
Well, yay. Good.
They've been a real blessing, and the meetings, they took the brunt of the burden and the cost and put together an interlocal agreement from our lawyer, and the city council approved it. And so we're asking you to approve it. It basically shows the roles and responsibilities of the city and the district for signage and crosswalks in particular.
Okay. Great, thank you. Now, we do appreciate, I know I talked to Nate about this, so appreciate everything what the city's done. Y'all done a great job. So this is really, in my opinion, just a very formal process that we just need to approve. So, but I do need a motion from someone.
I recommend the board approve the interlocal agreement and with the city of Decatur regarding the new crosswalks.
I have a motion from Sandy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Jeremy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, City of Decatur. We appreciate everything. Will, please let everybody know back there that we appreciate them.
Very
Okay.
much so.
All right, thank you. So moving on to 11B, discuss and take possible action regarding the 2023-2024 annual audit report. Sorry to have made you wait a little while.
No, not a problem at all. Thank y'all for having me tonight. My name is Lindsay Kinnemer, and I'm an audit partner with Snow Garrett Williams out of Weatherford. And tonight I'm going to be taking us through some of the highlights of the audit report, and I'm going to be starting, no, you're good, on it's PDF page number 5 if you're going through the PDF version. I think they have the hard copy and in the board packet. No, you're good. And if y'all are going through the hard copy, this is on page 1. Okay, I'll give y'all hard copy page numbers. Page 1 is the certificate of the board, and this is where you approve or disapprove the auditor's report. It requires the signatures both of the board president and the board secretary. There's an unbound certificate that we'll leave with y'all to sign and approve. That can be returned back to Cindy, and then she can scan that, and we'll put that into the PDF version of the audit report. We'll send that back over to the district for the submission to TEA, and that submission is due by January the 28th. If you could also sign and approve 2 of the bound copies, those can be just returned to Cindy to keep on hand in the business office. And I'm going to move over to page 2, which starts our independent auditor's report. You said 2 bound copies? Yes, thank you. Pages 2 through 4 are our independent auditor's report, and I'm just going to hit some of the key points, starting in the very first paragraph under the opinions tab. Here we state that we have audited the financial statements of Decatur Independent School District as of and for the year ended August 31st, 2024. If you move down to the second paragraph, we state here that in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Decatur ISD as of August 31st, 2024. And this is a clean or an unmodified audit opinion, and that's the highest level of assurance that we can give you on the financial statements. So that's the type of opinion you want to see. If you move down to the next paragraph under basis for opinions, this just explains that we conducted our audit both in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and also with government auditing standards, which is another layer of requirements that we have to follow because of the type of entity. If you move down to the bottom of the page under responsibilities of management, management is responsible for the preparation and the fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, and also for the internal controls relevant to preparing the financial statements. And if you move over to the next page on page 3, at the very top of the page under auditor's responsibility, this explains that our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or to error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinions, which is the clean, unmodified opinion that I pointed out on the second page there. And if you move over to the next page on page 4, in the very last paragraph under other reporting required by government auditing standards. So because of that additional layer of requirements that we have to follow, we also issue our report on our consideration of the district's internal controls over financial reporting, as well as test of compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, grant agreements, and other matters. And this is an additional report that's towards the end of this audit report. We don't typically go over this in a board meeting, but I do like to point out that we did not have any findings for internal controls or for compliance. And we'll move over to pages 14 and 15. This is going to be a 2-page exhibit, Exhibit C1. Exhibit C1 is the balance sheet for the governmental funds at August 31st, 2024. And just a quick overview of the format of this financial statement. If you look at page 14 on the left side of the page, the very top of the page, we have your assets. Directly underneath assets are your liabilities. Deferred inflows of resources for property taxes and fund balances are at the bottom. There are 6 columns going across the 2 pages. Starting on that first column on page 14, we have your general fund. The next column is your food service fund. Moving over to page 15, we have the ESSER 3 fund. And then next to that is your debt service fund, and those were your major funds for fiscal year 2024. The other governmental funds column includes your other special revenue funds that were not major and the capital projects fund. And the last column is the totaling column on the far right. The total assets of the district at August 31st were $23.9 million. Liabilities were $6.5 million. Deferred inflows were $812,000. And total fund balances were $16.5 million. And if you move back over to the general fund column on page 14, that first column on the far left, of your total fund balance of the $16.5 million, $10.1 million of that is in your general fund, and the majority of that is unassigned, the $10,052,000. And yes, it is. And we're going to move over to pages 17 and 18, which is the income statement for your governmental funds. This is Exhibit C2, and this is the income statement for fiscal year 2024. So a quick overview of this financial statement. If you're looking again on page 17, on the left side of the page, at the top of the page, we have your revenues. Underneath your revenues, we have expenditures, other financing sources and uses, and then fund balances again are at the bottom. We have the same 6 columns going across the 2 pages. And I'm going to start by reviewing over the totaling column on page 18, that far right column, and then we'll move back over and take a look at the general fund. Your total revenues for fiscal year 2024 were $55.4 million. Total expenditures were $57.2 million. You had net other sources of $280,000, and this brought us to a net decrease in fund balance of $1.4 million, and again, the ending fund balance of $16.5 million. And moving back over to your general fund, that first column on page 17, we always like to point out some of the fluctuations in this fund between years because this is where your operations are recorded. So compared to fiscal year 2023, your general fund revenues were up about $1.5 million, and that was the net effect of a decrease in your local revenues, your property tax revenues, but an increase in your state funding revenues. The net effect was the $1.5 million increase. Your total expenditures in the general fund were up about $1.9 million compared to 2023. The majority of that was in Function 11 for instruction. This was up around $1.4 million, the majority of which was for payroll, for additional positions as well as payroll increases. We had net financing sources, uses of $40,000 in the general fund, which brought us to the net decrease in fund balance of $1.4 million and the ending fund balance of $10.1 million. And as Dr. Rue pointed out, one thing that we also are looking at is what your fund balance looks like in comparison to your general fund operating expenditures. So just kind of a rough calculation of that would be if you took your $40 million in expenditures in the general fund and divided that by 12, that would give you roughly what it would take you to operate for 1 month. So that would be around $3.3 million. So 3 months would be around $10 million. And y'all are right at that in your unassigned fund balance. And, we audit 21 school districts, so we get to see a wide array of districts' finances, and it's been very difficult for districts to maintain 3 months or even sometimes 1 month in a lot of cases. So it's great that y'all have been able to maintain that cushion. I know y'all are looking probably at a deficit again for 25, but it's good that y'all have that 3 months there to be able to weather that storm, where a lot of districts are already in a position where they're having to make some difficult decisions. And I'm going to move over to your general fund budget, which is on page 50 and 51. Pages 50 and 51 are Exhibit G1, which is your general fund budgetary comparison schedule. There are 4 columns going across the page. The first column on the left is your original adopted budget. The second column is your final amended budget. The third column were your actual revenues and expenditures. And the last column on the right is the variance between your actual revenues and expenditures and your final amended budget. So looking through that variance column, your actual revenues came in under budget by about $790,000. If you flip over to page 51 on the next page, your total expenditures, your actual expenditures came in under budget by about $1.48 million. So y'all had a budgeted decrease in fund balance of about $2.1 million in that second column, the final budget column, and your actual decrease in fund balance came in at about $1.4 million. So y'all had around a $690,000 positive variance in what you budgeted for your fund balance. And the last thing we'll take a look at should be the very last page of your bound copy, which is going to be page 72. Page 72 is Exhibit K2, and these are the required school first indicators that we must include in the auditor's report. I won't read through all of these, but I did want to read through a couple that are directly related to our audit report. And the first one is SF1, that first line. Was there an unmodified opinion in the annual financial report? And yes, there was. That was the clean unmodified opinion. SF2, were there any disclosures in the report concerning non-payment of any terms of debt agreements at fiscal year end? No, there was not. They were all paid timely. Moving down towards the center of the page to SF5, did the report disclose any instances of material weaknesses and internal controls over financial reporting in compliance for local, state, or federal funds? And no, it did not. And then SF6, were there any disclosures in the report of material noncompliance for grants, contracts, and laws related to local, state, or federal funds? And no, there was not. And again, that's the government auditing standards requirements that we have to follow in addition to our regular auditing standards. That's where that would show up if we had material issues that we had to report. So all of these responses were favorable, and y'all scored 100% on these selected school first indicators. And that is the last item I have to review, but are there any questions that I can answer?
I had just a couple of general ones. One, how many school districts does Snow Garrett Williams do you audit? Do you know off the top of your head, just in general?
21.
21,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are those all in Texas, I assume?
Yeah, they're all within Parker and surrounding counties, so all within about an hour driving distance from our office.
Okay. And how many do you personally get involved with, all 21, or with?
I'm the partner on all 21.
Oh, 21,
yes.
Okay, lucky you.
Yes.
So you're in a good position to answer this question then, that of those 21, how many would you say, again, approximately, I'm holding you at anything, just off the top of your head, that were operating in a budget deficit in the last year?
Almost all of them.
Okay.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head because we still have several to present this month, but I would say the overwhelming majority have deficits. And a lot of them did last year too, in 2023. So we started seeing it in 23, and then 24, we started getting phone calls pretty early on, even before we started doing our audit, with concerns about deficit budgets. So it's not unusual. It's a really difficult time for schools, and I don't envy y'all's position. I know y'all have a lot of difficult decisions y'all have to make. So y'all have done a really good job maintaining fund balance.
All right, thank you. Well, now it's really I knew the answers, obviously, to those, but it's just for our public and educating the public to understand. And I think people are getting that understanding that public education has been in a very difficult situation the last couple of years, but that, it can, in that atmosphere, I think that Decatur has done in my opinion, a remarkable job. Do we make mistakes? Of course we do. We're like any business. But I think, I'd like to think that the public would understand that we are being as good as stewards as we possibly can of their tax dollars.
Absolutely, and it's a difficult time, and we have schools that, like I said, are not even at a month. They may be at a couple of weeks in their unassigned fund balance, and that's a scary place to be. I mean, you have some options with borrowing. Of course, you don't really want to have to exercise those, so having the 3 months there is, probably about as good as we've seen anywhere.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other? Well, thank y'all very much. We very much appreciate y'all and appreciate Cindy in the business office. They do a great job getting us everything. She can probably attest that we ask for more things every year as standards continue to change, so we definitely appreciate all of their assistance.
Okay.
Thank
you. Thank you. Moving on to number 11C, consider the order of election for the May 3rd, 2025 Decatur ISD general election to elect trustees in place 1 and 2. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. We did not make a motion for that. So let's back up just a second. Sorry about that, guys. So we do need to have a motion. Thank you, my fellow board members, for reminding me about that. So if someone is willing to jump out there with a motion.
Now, I recommend the board approve the 2023-2024 annual audit report.
Have a motion from Nate. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Delvin. All those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Now we will move on to 11C. Consider the order of election on May 3rd, 2025 Decatur ISD general election to elect trustees in places 1 and 2.
Thank you. I will introduce this. If we have questions, Laura Walther is the one who is who handles all elections within the district. She's done it for many years and knows it intimately. But this is the call for the election. The ability to file, the filing period is January 15th through February 14th at 5 p.m. So any other information, Laura, that you would want to share? That's it. Okay.
And where can folks find this information if they want to run? We have 2 seats open, and me and Stan, and where can they find that information if they want to sign up?
There will be, Ms. Bird is creating a place on our webpage for information, and Ms. Walther has been creating packets that are available from 8 till 5 here in the administration building in the superintendent's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Softball.
I think we need to wait till one of our board members comes back before we move on. No? Okay. I guess we don't have to. It's not usual. Let's wait. I'd rather him be a part of this vote, even though I know it's more of a formality. So, anybody wants to sing show tunes, jump in there. So, while we kill some time. We need to wait for you to come back. Okay, that's all right. He's back. Okay, does anybody want to need a motion to approve the order of the election?
I recommend the approval of the order of election for May 3rd, 2025 Decatur ISD general election.
I have a motion from Delvin. Do I have a second? Second from Sandy. All those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. 11D, discuss and take possible action regarding early resignations incentive for professional personnel. You may want to discuss this, Dr. Rube, but obviously for those who have been on the board for a little while, I know we got some new members. We have done this in the past. So anyway, Meredith,
Yes.
do you want to discuss
Sure.
this?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Just wanted to bring some information regarding the early resignation incentive. Like Stan said, we've done this for many years, and it's just a way to get those resignations in early so we know of the vacancies, and it's a way to help the principals get those hires early. And we adjusted it a little bit last year because of the tight budget. And so, there's some information in your packet there as far as the last 3 years, how many people have taken advantage, and some information there. But basically tonight, what we're presenting or proposing is an early resignation incentive for those professional personnel who let us know, who are planning to resign, but let us know by March the 1st for $300 incentive, or by April 1st for $250 to be paid out in that final paycheck.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item?
It helps.
Yep, it helps. And it's less than what we reduced that last year.
Yes, we did reduce.
If there's no discussion, then I'm looking for a motion.
I recommend the board approve the early resignation incentive for the professional personnel.
I have a motion from Chief Campbell. Do I have a second? Sandy's louder, so she gets the second. Okay. So second from Sandy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Motion passes 5-1. 11E, discuss and take possible action regarding the Decatur ISD Public Information Act calendar for 2024, 25, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Bird.
Hi, everyone, again. If you look under your mountain of cards, I should have placed it at the top, I'm sorry. There is a calendar somewhere in that stack. I do have a couple of extra copies in case someone needs one. Anyone need a copy?
So,
This is our proposed calendar. I think you all know the context and the background, but as a public ISD, we do have a responsibility to be open and transparent to our community regarding certain documents and materials. Sorry, I'm losing my words. And so individuals can request a number of records within the district. We as a district have 10 days to do that, to complete that. Weekends do not count. State and federal holidays also do not count. And then within the state, we are allowed to designate 10 days as essentially non-business days where they do not count against us. And so this is very similar to last year's PIA calendar with a few modifications that give our staff a little bit of cushion. Mainly, you'll see that the first and second possible days of school, kind of had to guess there, but potentially the first and second days of school have been designated, as well as the Christmas holiday, winter break got a little bit of a buffer, as well as some of spring break, and then Thanksgiving, and then also Good Friday. So those are our proposed dates. I don't know if there's any questions or if you all want to take a quick second to peek at it again.
If anybody's got any questions or discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve this.
I recommend the board approve the Decatur ISD Public Information Act calendar for the 2025 school year.
Got a motion from Nate. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Jeremy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on to 11F, discuss and take possible action regarding the 2025-2026 calendar. I think this is Dr. Wooten.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, good evening. Good to see all of you. And we are all thawed out, and so that's always a good thing, even though the snow was beautiful. So this is a calendar update. And so some of the slides that we have before you look familiar, but we did do a few tweaks to it as things are discovered. And so if you look at the timeline, one of the areas that was added this go round was just the finance. We put them in a separate column, and then we went ahead and added feedback survey was always there, but we also added the most recent survey that was there and just kind of specified that, as well as transportation routes, because obviously you just heard a presentation on discussion of potential purchases of buses, which that's going to take some time for you guys to process and then moving forward. So this was just tweaked to reflect that. We, just a reminder, have an awesome calendar planning webpage that Tara put together that has everything you ever wanted to know about a calendar. And as things like this happen throughout the school year, we update that and add to that one page so it's a one-stop shop. And then there was a calendar vote that went out, and there was two options. There was calendar A and there was calendar B. Essentially, the big difference between the two of them is one finished before Memorial Day and one finished after Memorial Day. Everything else was very, very similar. And this was the vote summary. So we got 973 responses. Obviously, unlike last year, this one was not close at all. 84.7% voted for calendar A, and the 15.3% voted for calendar B. And then you can see the breakdown as far as parents and staff and just the percentages. Also, you can see the breakdown based upon campus. So you can just see how many voted by each one. And so calendar A is the calendar that prevailed with the greatest number of votes, which is the one that is right here. This will get, if this gets approved, then this will get posted so that every parent, every community member can see what the 25-26 school year will look like. And then one area that is new that I do want to discuss with you, and these are continued things that will be discussed with DIC as we go on. Obviously, the first half of the year was very much getting calendars to vote on. The second half is going to be working on the more minute details, making sure that we have all our ducks in a row. And part of having our ducks in a row is what are we going to be looking at for effectiveness, and what's the measurement that we're going to be looking at that for. And so here, there's 4 categories. You can see financial impact, you can see student achievement, you can see teacher retention, and you can see attendance. These are going to be your key areas that we'll be looking at when we are into this calendar to determine if that effectiveness is there. So for financial impact, comprehensive cost analysis, detailed operations overview, equipment summary, team performance metrics, work summary, and outcomes. A lot of that has to do with Kyle, who worked with me on getting that information together. And then also on there from a financial standpoint would be utilization of substitutes. Like, where are we? What do we see? Do we see a reduction? Do we not see a reduction? Student achievement, we have a lot of those measures already in place. Those will continue. Beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year updates to the board. Obviously, we have CBAs that are going to give us more real-time assessments of where things are and are we meeting the instructional goals. And then just some of the local in-state assessments that we do, and really that shouldn't say state, that should say some of the curriculum ones, because we have module assessments and things like that that we'll also be looking at, which is more on a day-to-day as well. And then for teacher retention, obviously we're going to look at end of the year retention rate compared to previous years. And then for attendance, we'll be tracking weekly student attendance, which we've already are doing that. We're going to be more intentional on tracking weekly teacher attendance as well in looking at that and if we see a difference.
Back on the student achievement, the state assessments is one of those we'll be looking at, like the STAR scores.
Absolutely, yes. STAR score, all of it. You're not going to see a change from what we do now for what we will do then as well. It's just obviously all eyes are going to be on this, and that was the main point of developing CBAs from a local perspective, to have more real-time data so that we're not waiting till the end of the year to check our progress.
So is there any other assessments that we do? I know the CBAs, and I don't know how often that we do those, but I know that we create those, right? Is there any other assessments that we do?
The CBAs, yes. So there are banks that we utilize that the state offers that are very, they give us really good examples to use that we'll take from them and put into some of those CBAs. We get feedback from teachers on CBAs, on the CBAs as well. And for some of the local assessments, there's assessments that happen with curriculum that, whether it's a module assessment like in Eureka Math or PhD Science, there's also assessments that teachers create, based on if they're doing novel assessments or things of that nature when they're doing novel study. All of that we'll be looking at. So that's checked, and I think we have done a much better job of really looking at that, seeing the kiddos that are passing, seeing the kiddos that are struggling. Those become your intervention groups, especially at the elementary level. Those becomes the ones that get extra TLC from counselors when you get into secondary level. So all of that will play a role. And just moving forward, this is also, part of this is on the calendar. But we have 2 more 4-day planning dates coming up on February 14th and May 16th. I'm currently working with the counselors. We have amazing counselors here to create a web page of resources with activities to address anxiety and stress for our students, because that was one of the things that came up in that previous survey, the hybrid survey. And then one thing that we're going to be discussing as a district is just consider compensation for teachers to serve on a summer committee to compile activities for students to do at home, individually and with their families, to reinforce academic skills. That primary focus is going to be at the elementary level. A lot of what you see at the secondary level, just because of the types of courses that lends itself to quite a bit of homework anyway, that they would be working on. So we're going to focus on elementary first. And then just gauge teacher interest in providing additional half-day intervention for students on Fridays once a month and see what we got. We have that interest.
Is the activities that we're looking to do, is that for like weekly activities for Fridays and stuff like that, or?
It will be for the Fridays, and I don't know necessarily that they're weekly. I think it's just we're going to combine as much as we can from the anxiety, the stress level perspective, and then of course the academic activities would be things. When I work with the teachers, it would be more on what are the skills that seem to always be an issue. An example, multiplication facts and knowing those types of things is always an issue. And quite frankly, it's an issue in elementary, middle, and high school. So those would be the things that we would really kind of dive into more and create more opportunities for.
So right now, we're not doing this for students who do this on Saturdays or days that we're not in. And the same thing for the intervention. We don't provide that on Saturday, do we?
No. No, this will be for the upcoming school year, for that Friday.
Have we looked into, I know well, first of all, everybody, I really appreciate the amount of energy that's gone into making this happen. This is huge. It's a big change for us. I think it's going to be wonderful. With that said, I know we're focusing right now on the little ones, but have we looked at industry for the high school kiddos? Is there opportunities for co-oping or internships on that Friday for the maybe junior, senior guys or kiddos? Have we looked into that yet, or is that something we can do down the road?
I think that's a great question. And we currently do various internships with some of our kiddos for some of our pathways. I do expect that to expand as people kind of adjust to things. And that can definitely be something that we spend a little bit more time on. Right now, what you see in front of you is we focus kind of on what were the key takeaways from the surveys and that feedback and kind of hitting that first. But I think that's an excellent point.
Well, I appreciate everything y'all are doing.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I do kind of want to make a statement about the 4-day and what I think. I think these last 2 bullet points here kind of confirm my thought on 4-day. Right now, we don't do anything on Saturdays for our kids because they're getting 5 days a week. And while we sit here and we say that it's minutes, if it's just minutes, then we wouldn't be doing this on Fridays, is my opinion. Texas is totally new to 4-day. We don't have any sort of longitudinal data on what it looks like with student achievement. There is a bunch of case studies out there for other states who have been doing it for a long time. And I have information in here that anybody's going to look at, but you can pull it and you can find data for stuff that is good and stuff that's bad. But what was a resounding theme in what I saw was that students suffer in reading and math. Secondary to that, students who are Hispanic suffer even worse, which we have a great Hispanic population. And so that is my concern. I think right now we're at a point where our academics are probably not where we would like for them to be, and so moving to a 4-day does give me great concern. For teachers, this is fantastic. My wife is a teacher. She stays up super late, and I'll probably get in trouble for mentioning any of this about her, but stays up super late. She works on the weekends, and so selfishly, like, I love this. This is great for her. I'm going to have my wife back, especially on the weekends. But teaching 5 days is not the reason why our teachers are overwhelmed. This is a deal that I got at our summer leadership, and anybody's willing to come look at this too, but it's hard to see probably from back here, but this is 1900 all the way down to the 2000s. This is the increasing list that the state legislature has put on our teachers. Funding has not increased, and I can't remember how long. If you look at this, the bottom number down here, it says average expenditure per student needs to be $14,594 to be able to accomplish all these goals that we need to accomplish. So teaching 5 days is not the problem. It's reform in our state education. And I think that, you know, the current school board set this in motion, and I think that we need to honor that. We need to move forward with it. But I think that we need to have a very watchful eye on what our student achievement looks like. Because at the end of the day, first and foremost, we're here for the kids and the students. And I'm very concerned about their student achievement. Teachers, I think this is great for teachers, but I'm very, very hesitant in doing this. So I just want to make that statement. I've probably said too much, but that's how I feel.
And I do want to respond to that, because I don't think you said too much, and there's not anything you really said that I disagree with. I think student achievement, we need to make sure we are very in tune to how our students are progressing, or if they're not progressing. And I think if they are not progressing, then we alter and we change things up, and we change how we are possibly delivering instruction, and we change what the potential intervention could look like. We could do a lot of things that we currently do now that we will also be doing in that 4-day. I think we need to be careful of it. I don't think anybody here would argue. I don't think teachers would argue with that. And I do think a lot of the stress has nothing to do with whether we went 2 days, 7 days, if whatever that might be. I think there's a lot of additional burdens that have been put on teachers without a whole lot of support, starting with unfunded mandates. So I am 100% on board with everything that was said. What I will say is with the 4-day, there was a lot of research that was done, a lot. And were there districts that did not do well with the 4-day? Yes. And we stated that in DIC, and we looked at that. But there were also districts that did very well with 4-day, and achievement did go up. And I think we are going to fall in that category in which we are going to see both, and we are going to have to be very observant and acute to those details, and we are going to have to pivot if we need to pivot, and we're going to stay the course if we need to stay the course, and we're going to make all those decisions together. And I am looking forward to doing that with this board moving forward, because this is a big step. It is a big change, but I believe we're there.
Thank you for all the work you're doing, and the amount of energy you put into this is what you're going to get out. If we keep hustling and keep working hard, we're going to see amazing results. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything? Discussion? If not, then I'm looking for a motion.
I recommend the board approve calendar A as the 2025-2026 school calendar.
I have a motion from Chief Campbell. Do I have a second? A second from Sandy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Wooten.
Thank you. I'm up.
You're still up there, actually,
Yep.
stay up there then. Okay, we're moving on to information, 12A, 2025-2026 course addition and deletions. And Mr. Lackey, he is way up here. And, oh, you're just here, you guys are here for support. Well, then
Look at that.
be supporters. All right, well, you got support, Dr. Wooten, so the
Yes.
floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next presentation is on course additions and deletions. As always, I will always put the balanced scorecard in because I want there to be a visual that we always tie back to what our district goals are. And so what I want to talk a little bit with you about is the types of credit that we earn, especially some at the middle school, primarily at the high school, where you have AP courses, dual credit courses, and dual enrollment courses. And some of the colleges obviously offer different things. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, more from an education perspective. And so with the AP courses, dual credit courses, and dual enrollment, you will see that we have the opportunity to use a DHS teacher, with some exceptions happening when you get into dual credit courses. And so in this case, we are using our DHS teachers for history and biology, but we're using Weatherford College teachers, or the professors, for them when it comes to English and government. And why is that important? Because when you're working with some of the colleges, it's set up like a college, which means you're not getting 5 days a week. You won't be getting 4 days a week. You're getting 2 days a week. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that because there's pros and cons to everything, right? And so when you go back to AP, one of the big things there is obviously we follow the College Board curriculum that is very set. You may not stray away from that in any case. And it will still follow the academic calendar. But here, if you're going to earn college credit, then you have to earn a 3 or above on the AP exam. Whereas with dual credit, you will take that class. If you earn the grade that you need in order to be successful, so a C or above, then you get that college credit. And with dual enrollment, that adds another layer to it because A, the kiddos have an opportunity to earn college credit, but the teacher has some flexibility in which they could change some things up and add a few things to it where they could also earn high school credit. And why is that important? Because sometimes college level might prove to be a little more challenging than expected, and that teacher has the opportunity to tweak some things and add some things where if they don't earn the college, they can at least earn high school. Does that make sense? So those are your three different kinds.
And it's also 5 days a week.
Yes, 5 days a week. Which will be 4 days. Yes. Which will be 4 days. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun year with the 5-4 thing. So these are the current AP courses that we are offering, and we purposely put in from high school, and Darlene put a lot of work into this as well as getting all these numbers and stuff for me. I want you to see that not every AP course is received with all excitement and wanting to join. And so when you see some of the numbers, it just varies greatly. But those are things as a school district we have to look at. Because when you're in a deficit budget and you're already tight when it comes to teachers, then we have to weigh those factors. And so these are things that we look at. We look at all of this as we're starting to do staffing and things of that nature. These are AP courses I'm not going to get into, but I did attach in your board book a link just so you could see a 5-year data breakdown so that you could kind of look at some of the trends. And sometimes it ebbs and flows a little bit, but for the most part, the things that are pretty high volume stay high volume, and the things that don't. And so one thing here with AP courses, they do register, they pay for AP, obviously. We have a tiered structure, so it's not full. They don't have to pay the full thing if they're on free or reduced lunch. I just kind of put that information in there for you. And then there's obviously some pros and cons with it. Taught by DH staff, and I kind of talked through that already as far as some of the things that that work best for us. I will say one of the things that we talked about with AP at the high school when we all sat down together is sometimes when you're taking an AP course, you're taking it as a student so that you can get a GPA boost. You're not necessarily wanting to take the AP course because you're so excited to take the exam as well. And the last thing that we really want to do, that we put some parameters in place this year, is if you're going to take an AP class, then you're going to take the exam, because it should partner up side by side. And so in some cases, it's a very easy thing, depending upon the course. On others, it was a bit more of a challenge, and those are the things that when we all met together that we looked at. Dual credit, just the different courses that we already offer through Weatherford College. And then same thing, we kind of talked about those pros and cons. And then dual enrollment through Charlton. And just with the flexibility, the big difference with adding some of these classes is the flexibility in scheduling, and then just the training. The training's pretty top-notch, and it's not as expensive or as extensive. And so we all agreed that we liked that. And then these are just some of the dual enrollment classes that we're offering currently. Obviously, we're looking to expand the dual enrollment with what Charlton is now going to be offering. And then UT Austin, we have college algebra that's been very, very successful. Awesome teacher is a big factor with that. And so just proposed changes, we are looking at obviously keeping all the things that we had with AP, but we are going to drop some of the AP courses in which the numbers are not as high as we would like them to be, but we're not losing any classes per se, because we're going to add them in the dual enrollment piece to it. Does that make sense? So yeah, we might not be doing it from an AP perspective, but we're going to do it through a dual enrollment perspective, and vice versa. And sometimes at the colleges, we're constantly up to date with it. They just change what they're going to offer, and we've got to kind of pivot for that. And then we are looking to add currently we have business statistics. I know, shocking, Nate, this might hurt your heart, but business statistics was not all that exciting to a lot of our high school students. So we're going to go more with financial literacy. With math is going to be the big thing that we switch there. And then one thing, just to give you a heads up with this, when you're looking at CCMR and you're looking at what we need to have in order to get our points, per se, one of the things is making sure that, we get some completers when it comes to CTE. They're getting some of the other courses that they most definitely need. And so the first and eighth period flex periods are going to be if you meet CCMR requirements only. And if you don't, you will be finding your place in order to meet the CCMR requirements. So, and then just the AP courses, I actually skipped ahead, sorry, of just some of the things that we're going to be working with. And yeah, I added, just for fun in all of your free time, information on four-year plans, ninth grade elective choices, all the elective choices, kind of like the request sheet, just so you can kind of see what we have and what that looks like. And then with middle school, now middle school, one thing just to remember with that is we're still in the process of working through that to kind of see what we need and don't need and what we can do. Obviously, if we wanted to add like an enrichment class, when it came to any of the students that failed the math, like we have to look at that to see, is this something that we can do with current staff, or is it going to be an addition? And that's going to be a whole nother criteria that we're going to have to look at and see if that's even a possibility. So right now, we spent a lot more time kind of going through all the high school stuff, because they're going to be going and getting some of those course additions and deletions now. And then one of the things that I talked to Ms. Schisler about was just like the possibility of doing like a MMS 101, like a leadership and organizational kind of thing. It's a big transition coming from elementary school to the middle school, and I agree that some of these skills and time would be well spent in developing our students as they move into high school, and hopefully that would lead to greater success as well. And then we're currently looking at digital art, principles, technology, same thing. We just look at classes, where do we have the greatest interest, where do we not have the greatest interest, and if we need to tweak some things. And so that's the things we're talking about now. And that's it. Questions?
Just a quick question, I may know the answer, but I want to hear, so a lot of the, or most of the change where they're dropped is from Weatherford and added over Tarleton. The
biggest drops is really from more the AP perspective.
Right,
and
but I'm
moving-
just, between the two colleges
Yes.
where you're seeing it drop, is that cost, quality, more colleges accept Tarleton than they do Weatherford? Something, I'm just curious, what's the primary
Charleston has a
motivation?
really good reputation, yes.
Right.
I think both of them have a really good reputation. I think part of this is either A, they're dropped because the interest is not there, or B, the 2-day is not, it doesn't always yield the results that we want. It's not necessarily that quality's not good, it's just that high school kids with 2 days, and then they kind of do a on your own deal where there is somebody there, but it's, you have to have the discipline to manage the on your own very well, and we're not always there. And so any opportunity we get where we can have a teacher 5 days, 4 days a week, we're going to lean towards that. Does that answer your question?
Yep, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hard to prepare background work for this to meet the needs of your kids. One of the things Mr. Lackey has talked to me about is looking for ways to encourage students to take challenging courses and challenge themselves. And this does offer a greater opportunity with more dual enrollment courses and credit that will transfer to state universities.
And I will say, in just meeting with, because I attended a meeting with Mr. Lackey and the counselors and the APs and so forth, and just to brag on all of them. And I did the same thing at middle school with the counselors and with Ms. Schisler. They're on top of it. They want what's best for kids. They're looking at numbers. They're looking at data. It's driving discussions, and they're good discussions. And as a result, I think we constantly reform, change, switch up, and we do better each year. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you. You're
Okay. All right.
Okay. You guys are welcome to take a microphone if you want.
Anytime.
Okay. And then you're obviously standing up there, Dr. Wooten. And
Yep.
I see the rest of our CTE
Yes.
filing down here for more support.
Yes.
A lot of support for you tonight.
You know what? I feel very loved.
Yeah,
This
there you
is
go.
a good night.
Okay.
And I am sure you were done with me talking, and so this is actually one in which it's going to be a shared presentation. And what best than to get the experts in the field, and just as I bragged on the administrative staff at the middle school and the high school, I need to brag on our CTE teachers and Mr. Nallman, because it is an absolute pleasure to work with them and to see their passion and to see their actual love for what they do, the fact that they're highly effective at what they do, and just how the kids respond to them, and just the life changes that happen on a day-to-day basis is a great place to be, and I am blessed to be able to work with them. So as we move forward with this is the fun one. And so there's your scorecard. We're going to move forward. Just to give you an overview with the pathway, we have 12 different career clusters. That's everywhere on our website. We go over this left and right so you can kind of see all the different pathways that are there. There's 17 different career pathways, with the middle school having 674 currently students that are enrolled and 1,052 students enrolled at the high school. So this is a very popular, it's just great opportunities for kids. And so as we promote CTE, you obviously got a great taste of Manufacturing Day, so I am not going to spend a whole lot of time with that, other than it was amazing and the kids thoroughly enjoyed it. And if there was one takeaway I would say, is those kids did not realize what is in their backyard. And we helped them realize what's in their backyard. And this is a great place to be. So I am now going to turn it over to Mr. Nallman. And you can discuss this.
So we also have a few more events coming up. Like I said, that Manufacturing Day was in the fall, but we also have a couple more promotional days. So the CTE Career Fair we have coming up next week. That is an event that has been very popular over the past few years. It is where we take the student leaders from all the different pathways and we go down to the middle school. One day it's strictly speaking to the 7th grade students, and one day it's strictly speaking to the 8th grade students. And they talk about the 17 different pathways, the classes they need to take, all the fun parts of those organizations that are attached to those CTSOs. So that's a really good event. They get a chance to start working on their 4-year plans when they're 8th graders. The following week will be when the parents come up to the high school. We have all of our student organizations, that's CT and everything at the high school. We talk to those parents about those 4-year plans, expectations, all that fun stuff. But the parents have a chance to see those pathways, those CTSOs, all that fun stuff. So those are 2 big events coming up in the next 2 weeks. Currently, we are offering 33 different certifications through all our different pathways. Some pathways have one single final exam. Some have a building up to their exam. So each pathway is different. It does take some time. As everything there is with TA, this is always an ever-evolving list. And so we have to constantly be chasing this, preparing our teachers, our students. Ideally, these certifications are capstones that they are learning as they go, and it shows what they're earning at the end. We also have an ever-expanding list of CTE courses that receive core credit, whether this counts as a 4th science, 4th math, 4th English, even some that can qualify as a LOT alternative. So rather than taking Spanish, they could take a couple of courses for that. So these are classes that we have really started developing the past couple of years that are more specific into those pathways. So as we build those, these will change and see where they're most popular. So then we'll get into some of our highlights of some of our pathways. So Ms. Wheeler.
You gonna click for me? Oh, that's so kind. So I'm Brittany Wheeler. I'm one of 4 ag teachers and FFA advisors with Decatur ISD. So I'm gonna give you just a few little notes about our program. If you pay attention to these slides, you'll know I could not get through all of it in the time I have today. But we do have 3 main pathways. So we've got our ag mechanics pathway, and that is through myself or Ellett Van. We have our animal science pathway through Ellett Van or Melanie Titter, and then our plant science pathway through Kristen Stockard. We also have a very quickly growing 8th grade program run by Miss Titter, and she's absolutely killing it over there. Okay, so when they take an agriculture science class, they're automatically enrolled in our student-led organization, which is FFA. Okay. They also have the opportunity to participate in supervised agricultural experiences. So in the past year, our FFA chapter has grown by 32%. We are actually up to 480 Decatur FFA members. Okay. Through this chapter, we've had a lot of success within the past year, and we've had 3 teams or individuals advance to state. Some of those including our Greenhand Creed speaker, Kylie Barthold, our Applied Agriculture Engineering team, and our state advancing welder, Jonathan Donahue. We also offer multiple SAE opportunities at Decatur, and this ranges for 3rd through 12th grade students. So it's not just high school or that 8th grade program. And this could include showing livestock, participating in ag mechanics show teams, or we even have floral and horticulture projects that they can participate in as well. All of these show teams have experienced significant growth, each of them ranging from 40 to 86% growth since just last year. So these experiences are vital to our program as they teach valuable skills such as responsibility, time management, and patience as students raise their animals or fabricate projects throughout the year to be able to exhibit them at local and major shows. So some of what I've shared to you today is a very small glimpse into the outstanding things that our students are doing, but it can only truly be grasped by visiting our facilities and speaking with our members. So as I wrap up today, I encourage you to do just that and get to know some of the hardest working kids I've had the pleasure of teaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Hi. My name is Cheryl Garner. I am a teacher in at Decatur High School with the Health Science Pathway. Our program has experienced a significant growth and success over recent years. That reflects the dedication of our students and the strength of our curriculum. Currently, we have approximately 295 students at the high school. We approximately have 90 students at the 8th grade level. They're looking to expand maybe 2 more classes, so that's going to be approximately 150 students. This year, we have applied for 32 testing vouchers that would certify kids as a PCT or certified medical assistant. Every year, we only are allowed to have the max amount, which is between 30 and 35 students, and we have had a 100% pass rate on that. We also have HOSA, which is Health Occupation Students of America. That is our club. We are helping to develop future leaders in healthcare. It provides them opportunities for leadership, for communication. We do a lot of community service activities. We actually have our senior prom coming up shortly. It also offers scholarships. We have Julie Stone, who is a senior. She advanced to the Spring Leadership Conference and will actually compete this Friday for medical assisting. So we're just very proud of our kids. They work really hard, and we're continuing to watch the positive impact they have. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you're not aware, on the senior prom, that's not seniors in high school. That's the 55-plus senior prom, which has been a huge event.
Good evening, y'all. How are you?
Great.
So I have been at Decatur ISD for roughly about 5 years now. I started as the culinary arts teacher, and when I started there at Decatur, we had maybe 80 students in culinary arts. Now we have a barbecue team, which you've heard tremendous good things about. We also have a Skills USA team. I've just started as well. I'm trying to put students through that to help complete some scholarships. We have grown all of the programs. We have a new teacher, Miss Van, as well, about barbecue. It's just growing at an exponential rate. We are certifying students as well for 5-year certifications with ServSafe certification. That's national, so any student that is taking an advanced class for me or with me, they are automatically put into that certification program, and hopefully they pass. That's 100% on them, with my help, of course. We've already tested 6 students, and they all passed. So we have 3 more coming, and hopefully more in the many years to come.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Van, and my husband is Ellett Van. We are here to speak on behalf of the Decatur High School barbecue team. Last year, our team competed for the first time and achieved a significant milestone of qualifying for the state barbecue championship. We started because a generous donor donated a full-size Batwing barbecue trailer to us, and then from there we began. Our team competes in 5 categories: brisket, chicken, ribs, beans, and dessert. While we demonstrated exceptional skills in brisket, securing first and second place in our first 2 regional competitions, our success extended beyond that single category. We consistently placed within the top 10 in all categories throughout the season. And at the state championship, we actually placed 15th in brisket out of 100 teams. So they did a pretty good job. The students were briefly featured on a Discovery Plus TV show as well called Barbecue High. And it's all about the barbecue circuit that we compete in. So that was on the Discovery Plus, if you've seen that. But and this year, we're thrilled to announce that the expansion of our program with an addition of a second barbecue team. And this exciting development became possible thanks to another generous donation of a full-size trailer pit. So we have 2 full-size trailer pits that were completely given to our teams. Having 2 teams will provide more students with the opportunity to develop valuable skills, teamwork, competition, and the art of barbecue. So we're super excited.
Can I ask you a quick question? Are you at liberty to tell who donated the barbecue pits?
Yes, so.
Or are they remaining anonymous?
No, Russ Thompson, he's a local here in Decatur, and then a man by the name of Charlie Daniels, which is not the famous Charlie Daniels, but where is he? Yeah, the San Antonio area. We wanted to join the league, and he reached out just randomly and offered us the pit last year, so.
That's really cool. All
Yes.
right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All of their food is incredible.
All right. Good evening, and thank you for having us today. My name is Jacob Wells. I am the advisor for our press department, which is our yearbook, newspaper journalism, and photojournalism classes at Decatur High School. Over there, I am a second-year teacher, so I've had the pleasure to start my educational career with your students and with working with this press department, and the growth that they've had has been wonderful. The great progress they've made, you can see already right here. 2 students just this year alone were just published and received great praise from the Wise County Messenger for their story on Manufacturing Day, so those community partnerships are really paying off for professional experience. But we're also seeing an increase in our yearbook sales, and after a $4,500 deficit just 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, last year we made $9,500, and right now we're seeing a 52% increase in our yearbook sales compared to last year alone. UIL, we were actually the district champions and scored first place as an overall team with a 3 times greater score in our UIL journalism team compared to the second place team. We also ended up earning a 3rd place state championship for feature writing with a student who had never written a feature story before that year. And with the great work of our student reporters, we are currently on track to earn a 2025 National Yearbook Program of Excellence Award. So the collaboration you all have had and the support you've given us has been instrumental, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Great job.
Okay, so as you can see, saved the best for last as far as presentations that I have done. Just phenomenal work by these teachers. I cannot thank you enough for being here tonight. I cannot thank you on the day-to-day of what you do. It's a pleasure to work with them. And this is just a sampling of the ones that could come tonight that we really highlighted because of the activities that are going on. But we have many more that could not be here that are equally as exceptional. So just a huge thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank y'all. Y'all do a great job.
Hey, real quick, Mr. Showmanship, Dusty, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Reserve Showmanship.
How many kids got certifications, received certifications last year?
Last year, we were in like the 390 range, I want to say it was. It was an increase of about 100 students from the previous year. And then, unfortunately, moving forward, that number's going to look different because of how the accountability is going to be factored in on those classes. But yes, this is the highest amount of certifications we'd ever received last year.
That's awesome. Thank you for all y'all do.
Yeah, it's a great program. We just need to figure out ways to give you guys more resources so you can grow, because I know you want to grow, and
We do. I can tell you specifically where we want to grow, how, and whatever else you might want to know.
I've heard it before. I know. So we gotta get it done. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. 12C is financial information. Ms. Watson, if you would make your way to the front, please.
You have the financials in front of you for the month of December. At revenue, we're sitting right at $19.3 million, which is right at 50% of the budget so far. And then for expenditures, we are sitting at $13.8 million, which is 34.7%. So we've expended just about 0.3% more from where we were last year percent-wise. So I think we're right on track for the current year. If you'll flip over to the revenue, I do want to point out that at the end of December this year, we have already collected 48% of our tax revenue for the year. So we are right on track. That's great. Hopefully, by the end of February, we'll be close to the 99%. And then you'll also look at interest. Even though the interest rates are down, we were only under where we were the previous year by about $30,000. So I know interest rates aren't going up any, but hopefully we can maintain that, especially with the increase in the tax collection, which is more money that we have in tax pool to earn interest. And then you will notice right now we're sitting at the SHARS revenue of just $7,800. We're still, SHARS is, I'll have more in the board brief on Friday, but SHARS has turned out to be a big feat for all of us involved in it in order to get the money. But we'll have more about that. And then on your food service, Right now, we've collected right at 600,000, and we've spent 644, which is a loss of 46. But going through this year, we want to see the loss. We've got to spend that fund balance down. And so you'll continue to see that number go up. And then on the debt service, we're sitting at 4.6 million, in revenue so far. You don't see any payments there because we make our first bond payment in February. And so when February rolls around, you'll see that payment there. Any questions? Okay.
No. Okay, thank you. Our last item is adjournment, number 13. At 8:06, we are adjourned.